Hi guys, happy Thursday. I'm going to quickly go through these 6 questions. We're going to continue pretty much wrap up subtracting integers. I taught you all the strategies this week using the 2-color counters, the number lines, and the rules. Today we're just going to do 6 example problems using all 3 strategies. All right, so please take out your journals, follow along, and if you have questions, try to stop the video, write your questions down, and ask them on the activity feed. So here's our first example. Our first example says 7 minus 5. Automatically, you guys know that your answer is going to be 3. So I'm going to show you using all the strategies. Again, if you have questions, just stop and pause the video. So we start with 7 counters, and it asks us to take away 5 of them. And we can do that, which means that we are left with positive 2. All right. If we look at our number line, we start at positive 7 and we take away 5. So that means I'm moving in the left direction. Remember, if you are subtracting a positive, you move in the left direction. And lastly, our rule, we have 7 minus 5. You keep the first term, change subtraction to addition, and find the opposite of positive 5. So this now becomes 7 plus negative 5. All right, and then using our rules, we take the absolute value of 7, and since they have opposite signs, we subtract. We have 7 minus 5 equals 2. And since this was the larger absolute value, that 2 stays positive. All right, example number 2. Example number 2 is the opposite. What if we have a smaller number and we're taking away more than what we have? So that means I have 5 green counters and I'm trying to take away 7. I only have 5, so that means I'm going to have to add 2 more 0 pairs in order to have 7 that I can take away. So, all right. Now I'm going to go ahead and cross out the 7 green counters. So I will cross those out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That means I'm left with negative 2 as my answer. All right, and then if we look at number lines as our example, we start at positive 5 and we're taking away 7. Remember, we're taking away a positive. That means we are moving in the left direction 7 units, so I land at negative 2. All right, and if we're looking at the rules, we have 5 minus 7. Again, we want to keep the 5, change subtraction to addition, and find the opposite of 7, which is negative 7. All right, so I'm going to rewrite with the absolute value that's largest on the left. We have negative 7, and since the signs are opposites, we have a positive 5 and a negative 5, we're going to subtract. All right, so the absolute value of negative 7 is 7, absolute value of 5 is 5, we get 2. However, we said that negative 7, the absolute value of that is largest, so that means that we keep that 2 the same sign as that negative 7. All right, here's our next example. And our next example reads 2 minus negative 8. Now, please notice that we don't have any negatives. We only have 2 positives to start with. So that means I need to add 8 0 pairs. So I will add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 green counters. And I'm going to add 8 red counters. 7, 8. All right, now I can go ahead and take away 8 red counters. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That means I'm left with 10 positive counters, so 10 green counters. All right, if we look at the number line, we start at 2, and we're taking away negative 8. That means I'm taking away my debt, which means I'm moving in the right direction, 8 units. 7, 8. So I land with positive 10. And the rules, guys, same thing. I have 2 minus negative 8. I'm going to rewrite it using adding the opposite. So I keep 2, right? You can think about it as keep, change subtraction to addition, and find the opposite of the second term. So keep 2, change subtraction to addition, and find the opposite of negative 8, which is positive 8. All right, since the signs are the same, I'm going to keep my sign, and I'm going to add my absolute values. So the absolute value of 2 plus the absolute value of 8 is 10. And remember, this is the larger absolute value, so it stays positive. All right, guys, almost done. We have 3 more questions. Our next example is negative 8 minus 2. So we actually start with 8 red dots. And we want to take away 2 positives. But I don't have 2 positives, so we need to add the opposite. In this case, we're going to add 2 more 0 pairs. All right, now I actually have 2 green dots I can take away. So I take these away. That means I'm left with negative 10 because I have 10 red dots. All right, now let's look at the number line strategy. I start at negative 8 and I'm taking away 2. Remember, if you're taking away a positive, you become more negative. All right, and let's look at the rules. I have negative 8 minus 2. Again, we want to keep negative 8, change subtraction to addition, and find the opposite of 2. So that becomes negative 8 plus negative 2. Again, I told you, please make sure you don't think that subtraction sign means negative 2. That only means you're taking away a positive 2. So since the signs are the same, I'm going to add my absolute values. So the absolute value of negative 8 plus the absolute value of negative 2 gives me 8 plus 2, which equals 10. However, the larger absolute value is negative 8, which means I'm going to keep the sign attached. So that would be negative 10. All right, almost through. Thank you guys for sticking with me so long. Our next problem reads negative 9 minus negative 15. Please keep in mind that negative 9 is larger. So if you think about what you would rather owe someone, would you rather owe someone negative $9 or negative $15? Negative 9 because that's actually closer to 0. So negative 9 is larger than negative 15. So in this case, you're only taking away a smaller number, which means you're going to end up positive. And I'm going to show you that with using 2 color counters. So we start with negative 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now notice I don't have 15 to take away, but if I add 6 more counters or 6 more 0 pairs, right, we're adding the opposite. I'm adding 0 pairs. I have 6 red counters. I also need 6 green counters. So right here, I've got my 6 0 pairs, which means now I can go ahead and take away 15 red dots. And I know it seems counterintuitive to be adding something when you need to subtract, but that's how you do these using that counter strategy. So my answer is actually positive 6. All right, looking at the number line, using this strategy, we're going to start at negative 9. And remember, guys, if you are taking away debt, you are becoming more positive. So I'm going to move in the right direction, 15 units. All right, so I land at positive 6. And using my rules, I've got negative 9 minus negative 15. Remember, we want to keep our first term. change subtraction to addition and find the opposite of negative 15. So this now becomes negative 9 plus positive 15. All right, now since we have opposite signs, we are going to subtract our absolute values, right? If we have the same signs, we add, opposite, we subtract. So I'm going to put the larger absolute value first. So the absolute value of 15 minus the absolute value of negative 9 gives me 15 minus 9, which equals 6. Now, that is going to stay a positive 6 because the absolute value of 15 is larger than the absolute value of negative 9. All right, guys, last question. Thank you again for sticking with me for so long. Let's go ahead and get it done. All right, so our question reads -4 minus -2. I start out with 4 red counters. Now the question is saying I need to take away 2 red counters. Do I have 2 red counters to take away? I do. So I can just cross these out and I'm left with -2 as my answer. Using the number line strategy, we would start at -4 and we are taking away a negative number. It means we're taking away our debt. We become more positive. So I'm going to move in the right direction, 2 units. So I land at -2. All right, and using our rule, lastly, our subtraction rule is we keep our first term. We change subtraction to addition, and we find the opposite of the last term. So this now becomes -4 plus and then adding the opposite of -2 is +2. We now have -4 plus +2. Since the signs are opposite, we want to subtract. Again, we're going to use the addition rule now, because our whole goal with subtraction is turn it into an addition problem so we can know the rule. So we have opposite signs here. We have -4 and +2. That means we'll subtract our absolute values. So the absolute value of -4 minus the absolute value of 2 gives me 4 minus 2, which equals 2. However, since the absolute value of -4 is larger, right, because that's 4, we keep the sign that it was attached to that original -4. So we would say that's -2 as our answer. All right, guys. So lastly, I need you to complete the Unit 8, Week 2, Google Forms activity. Once you guys finish, just submit that. It is a Google Forms. You are more than welcome to use your notes. And I believe if you have any questions you may ask, please don't hesitate. All right, thank you guys for working so hard this week. Good luck, and you guys got this.